Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of a Naijaman's Perspective. Please give this video a like. That's my first public service announcement. Let's get into it. So there's this story, breaking story that happened circa around mid-June about the recent events in Kenya with respect to the youth's protests. I'm sure some of you have seen this on different news channels, and I decided to cover it today on my channel. So there have been significant youth-led protests against the government in Kenya, which happened because of a controversial finance bill that was passed by the president. So the bill proposed new taxes on essential goods and services, which many Kenyans perceived as a further economic burden amid already high living costs. You guys probably know worldwide, there are so many countries with high living costs. So the protests, started around mid-June, like I said, and Gen Z were the ones that really pushed this forward, mentioning that they were not happy with the government's fiscal policies. Young Kenyans organized via social media under the hashtag Occupy Parliament, leading to large-scale demonstrations in Nairobi and other cities such as Mombasa and Eldoret. Protesters accused the government of mismanagement and corruption, arguing that existing taxes were already being misused. The situation escalated when police and military forces responded with force, resulting in at least 22 deaths and numerous injuries. This violent crackdown drew further criticism and highlighted the government's struggle to maintain this unrest. In response to the intense pressure, President William Ruto announced he would not sign the finance bill into law and conceded to amending the most contentious tax proposals. Let's get into it.
And therefore, I will not sign the 2024 finance bill, and it shall subsequently be withdrawn. And I have agreed with these members that that becomes our collective position.
The head of state admitting that Kenyans at large have clearly pronounced themselves on the position regarding the Finance Bill 2024.
On the continuing conversation around the content of the Finance Bill 2024, and listening keenly to the people of Kenya.
So when he says to the people of Kenya, he's talking to the youths of Kenya. So the youths went out. They are the ones that went out to protest. They are the ones that said they are not going to accept this. They are the ones that continue to put themselves in front of the firing line to ensure that this was reversed. So kudos to the youths. Unfortunately, people, passed on, and rest in peace to all the people that are passed on. But we can see what can happen when the youths of a country mobilize themselves for a good cause and have come out to say, we will not accept this. We will not. We simply won't. We won't.
Who have said loudly that they want nothing to do with this Finance Bill 2024, I concede, and therefore I will not sign.
According to Article 115 of the Constitution on presidential assent and referral of bills, within 14 days after receipt of a bill, the president shall assent to the bill or refer the bill back to Parliament for reconsideration by Parliament.
As you heard, the President of Kenya, William Ruto, said that, and I quote, I concede. I have withdrawn.
So here's my question. If they had not gone out to protest, would the president have conceded? Leave your comments in the comment section. Leave your comments. Let me know. Do you think he would have conceded? I'm giving my perspective. Let me hear yours. What do you think? Do you think he would have conceded? What do you think? I'd really like to hear what your thoughts are on this particular issue. There are definitely advantages especially when youths go out to protest something that is very, very unpopular, something that is going to cost them, that is already causing them pain with regards to financial hardship, and is going to cause them more pain. So it's interesting to see this happening in Kenya. This has happened in other parts of the world over the last few years, with different youths coming out to protest unpopular policies. Let's keep watching.
Will not be signing this bill, which is huge because this is what they were fighting for. Some people still believe that the fight is not over and they should continue to protest because there's high cost of living, unemployment, and they don't believe that the government has their best interests at heart. And they
So when she says they don't have the best interests at heart, you see, I'm being cynical and I'm thinking that particular bill wasn't signed, right? Which was a raise on certain staple items. What if the government says, okay, President Ruto has come out, we concede, and then goes around and increases taxes on petroleum, the pump price, the petroleum products, or any other things that that people need. So that's sometimes government, they will take one from you, or when you complain about one, they'll say, okay, no problem, we'll revert, and then next day they put prices up in another area, and they'll say, oh, it's not related, but yeah, it could be related. So it'll be interesting to see what will happen with respect to that. Let's keep watching.
Want better, they want change. So aside from that, though, unfortunately a lot of lives were lost during this protest. Even though I have seen how peaceful this protest was, there were some clash between the police and the protesters. And as you know, and as our police, most of African countries' police are known for taking it there, even if when it doesn't have to go to, using guns, using tear gas, they'll still.
Yeah, so this thing is, she's saying, I can relate being in Naijaman, so many different protests. There's usually more than one casualty, and sometimes they even underreport the number of people that are passed on. It's something that African anti-riot policemen need to work on in their training, in terms of how to, yes, they will defend themselves. I know some protesters can be boisterous and some of them might even come with weapons, but how we can get to a point in Africa where lives are not lost, where they can protect themselves with shields or any other training in other countries of the world. I don't need to mention any other country. There are other countries in the world where casualties are maybe reduced to injuries, because it's very difficult to also have this mass crowd against you as police, and you would want to protect yourself, especially when they're throwing things at the police and doing all sorts of things. The police also have a right to protect themselves. But that's where training and education comes in, to hopefully, because protests are not going to stop. As long as things continue this way in Africa, people will still continue to protest. And a way for the youths or the adults of that country to show their displeasure of these kinds of bills and these kinds of unpopular policies that are passed, that definitely have an impact on the cost of living in that country, there will be protests. How can we ensure that those protests do not lead to a loss of a single life?
Still go ahead and exercise that privilege or that right the government gives them, and the police were using force, and the protesters were young kids, teenagers, Gen Zs, the younger generation. Majority of them were a younger generation, and they were injured. Many hundreds were injured, and as of now, they are claiming that 20 plus people died, but we all know these numbers can be tweaked, and from the information that we are gathering on social media and from people that were there, it's way, way, way above the number that has been communicated.
That's what I said.
It's sad to see that there's always a price to pay, when you want change, when you want to make it known to the government, to the leadership, to the world that you don't stand for what they're doing. There's always a price to pay, and unfortunately, a lot of people lost their lives to get that point across, and Kenyans are mourning their loss. They are sad that this happened, but they have shown strength. Honestly, this protest, I have been seeing some reports saying that this has been the biggest protest because of how people showed up. Out of 47 counties in Kenya, 35 of them were protesting this bill. You can imagine how big this protest.
Yeah, respect to the youths in Kenya. Respect. You heard it from her. 35 out of the 48 came up. They showed up. They were showing up day by day in numbers, with their placards, with their songs. They were resilient. They were pushing for what they wanted. Respect to the youths in Kenya.
Was and how many people went out to the streets to make sure that they are heard. And it's quite impressive how Kenyans came together and they didn't focus on tribe, they didn't focus on political affiliation. They just spoke with one voice, and that one voice was reject the finance bill. So this goes to show you how powerful our voice is when we come together and we don't focus on these small things that we disagree on, and hating on our neighbors, fighting with one another.
So just going to wrap this up here. The power of unity. The power of unity, one voice. They didn't say, oh, this tribe, that tribe. The what's the word? The measures or the laws or the penalties or whatever word you want to use that the government imposed in terms of these taxes affects every single ethnic group in Kenya. It affects every religion in Kenya. It affects the people, whether they're educated or uneducated. Yes, you can argue that the elite will suffer less, yes, but the elite are not the majority of the country. The majority of the country are feeling the pinch. But they were unified, which is why this worked. And like I said earlier, I'm praying and hoping that a time will come where peaceful protests can be done in Africa, in majority of the countries, if not all, and no casualty will lose their lives. There will be no casualties. And on this note, thank you for staying with me. You know the deal. If you're here for the first time, subscribe to my channel. If you like my content, let me know. If you don't like my content, let me know in the comment section as well. Share this to many people as possible, and I'll see you in the next one.